Do you know the one question you must ask a police officer before you ever hand over your driver's license? Most people have no idea they're handing over the keys to their own arrest. In under 2 seconds, you could lose every legal protection you have. Hit that subscribe button right now because what I'm about to show you could keep you out of jail. This is real legal advice from a lawyer that cops don't want you to hear. Here's what you're about to learn. The exact words that force an officer to state the real reason for the stop. The Supreme Court case that makes your license a shield, not a weapon against you. The body cam footage proving this works in real traffic stops. And the devastating mistake 95% of drivers make within the first 5 seconds of being pulled over. Let me show you exactly why this moment is so dangerous. Traffic stops are only supposed to last long enough to handle the reason for the stop. You get pulled over. The officer checks your license and registration. You get a ticket or a warning, and you drive away. That's it. But cops are trained to turn a simple stop into a full-blown investigation. And the fastest way they do that is by getting you to hand over your license without thinking. Your license is not just an ID. It's a legal document that triggers a record check, a warrant search, and a criminal history run. Once they have it, they can detain you indefinitely while they dig through your entire life. And they start building a case against you the second you roll down your window. Most drivers follow the same dangerous script. They see the lights, they pull over, they roll down the window. And the officer says one thing, "License and registration, please." And what do? You reach for your wallet instantly. You hand it over without a word. That's exactly what they want. You just gave them everything they need to search you, question you, and trap you. You handed them the key to your car, your home address, your driving history, and your consent to extend the stop. Here's the reality. Cops use a casual tone to make you feel like you have to comply immediately. But you don't have to hand over your license the second they ask. You have a right to ask them something first, and that one question changes everything. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. Before you even touch your wallet, you ask this exact question. "Officer, what is the reason for this stop?" You say it calmly, you say it respectfully, but you say it before you produce your license. Let me show you exactly why this is so powerful. When you ask for the reason, you force the officer to articulate the specific law they think you broke. He has to state it on his body camera. He has to give you a concrete answer. If he can't give you a clear reason, he knows his stop is illegal. And a stop without a valid reason violates your Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable searches and seizures. This is 100% legal. You're not refusing to identify yourself. You're simply asking a question that any citizen can ask. But the magic happens when that reason hits the record. If the officer says you were speeding and later in court the radar evidence is missing, you have his own words to challenge the stop. If he says your license plate light was out and you can prove it wasn't, the stop gets thrown out. You're building your defense in the first 10 seconds of the encounter. Let me break down the bad way and the good way so you see the difference. Bad way. The officer asks for your license. You say nothing and hand it over immediately. The officer now has your personal information and can run your name through the system. He finds an old warrant you didn't even know about, or he decides your nervousness looks suspicious. He orders you out of the car. He searches your vehicle. He finds something you forgot was in the glove box. You go to jail all because you surrendered your license without a word. Good way. The officer asks for your license. You look at him and say, "Officer, what is the reason for this stop?" He tells you it was a rolling stop at a stop sign. You calmly say, "I understand. Here's my license." You just created a record of the stop's justification. He cannot later change his story. If the stop was bogus, your attorney can use that statement to get the entire case dismissed. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and in case after case, the driver who asks this question walks away. The driver who stays silent gets buried. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. In the landmark case Terry v. Ohio, the Supreme Court said that an officer must have reasonable suspicion of a crime before stopping you. That suspicion has to be based on specific facts, not just a hunch. By asking for the reason, you are testing whether that reasonable suspicion actually exists. If the officer can't give you a clear answer, the stop is unconstitutional. And any evidence found after that illegal stop gets thrown out of court. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court to rip apart the prosecution's case. The officer has to explain on the stand why he stopped you. If his body cam shows he hesitated or changed his story, you win. Your question sets the trap for him, not you. Have you ever handed over your license without asking why you were stopped? Drop a comment below and tell me what happened. I want to see how many of you already made this mistake. While you think about that, keep watching because tactic 2 is where most people completely fall apart. Now you have your license out. The officer takes it and goes back to his car. When he returns, he hands you a ticket or a warning. Then he says something that sounds casual but is designed to destroy your protections. He'll say, "You don't mind if I take a quick look in your trunk, do you?" Or, "You're not carrying anything illegal, right? So you won't mind a quick search." Most drivers panic and say yes in under 3 seconds. That single word, yes, wipes out your Fourth Amendment right to be free from warrantless searches. Once you consent, you can't take it back. The officer can now tear your car apart. This is where you need tactic 2, the one sentence that can save you from a world of trouble. You look directly at the officer and you say this: "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Word for word. Memorize that. You do not raise your voice. You do not argue. You simply state your constitutional right. This is 100% legal. You are not obstructing justice. So you are not hiding anything. You are exercising a right protected by the highest courts in this country. Here's the reality. Cops are trained to make the request sound like a friendly question. You don't mind, do you? That phrasing makes you feel rude if you say no. They count on your politeness to get inside your vehicle. Don't fall for it. Your politeness can send you to prison. Watch what happens when you don't use this tactic. Bad way. The officer asks to search. You say, sure, I guess. He finds a pipe your friend left under the seat. You had no idea it was there. But now you're charged with possession of drug paraphernalia. Your life is turned upside down. Good way. The officer asks to search. You say, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." He knows he cannot search without a warrant or probable cause. He might try to pressure you. He might say, "If you have nothing to hide, you'd let me look. Stay calm." Repeat the phrase. Unless he has a warrant or smells drugs or sees something in plain view, he cannot legally search your car. If he does search anyway, any evidence he finds cannot be used against you in court. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection during a traffic stop. Still watching? Good. Most people already clicked away. If you're still here, you're in the top 10% of drivers who actually care about their rights. Drop a comment saying I'm still here to prove you're paying attention. Because tactic 3 is the one that ends the stop entirely and gets you back on the road. After you've handed over your license, after you've refused any searches, the officer might hang around him. He might keep asking questions. He might be waiting for a K9 unit. The stop has gone on too long. You need to know if you're free to leave. That's where tactic 3 comes in. This is the question that legally forces the officer to either let you go or escalate to an arrest. You look at him and you say this: "Am I being detained or am I free to leave?" Those exact 9 words. Listen closely because this is critical. Under the Fourth Amendment, you cannot be held longer than necessary to complete the traffic stop. Once the officer has returned your documents and issued a citation, the stop is over. You have the right to go. If he doesn't have probable cause to arrest you, he must release you. By asking that question, you put him on the spot. If he says you are free to leave, you drive away. If he says you are being detained, he must now justify why. And if his justification is weak, your lawyer can challenge the entire detention later in court. Former police officers have confirmed this works. They know that when a driver calmly asks if they are detained, it signals that the driver knows the law. And it makes them think twice about fishing for evidence. Let me show you exactly how this plays out in a real traffic stop. Bad way. The officer gives you your license back but keeps talking. He asks where you're going, where you're coming from, if you've been drinking. You answer his questions, hoping to be polite. The stop drags on for 20 minutes. A drug dog arrives. The dog alerts. Now they search your car and find something you didn't know was there. You are arrested. All because you didn't assert your right to leave. Good way. The officer hands you your license and ticket. You take them and say, "Officer, am I being detained or am I free to leave?" He has no reason to hold you. He says you're free to go. You say thank you and drive away. The stop is over. Your rights are intact. You go home to your family. Watch what happens when you use all 3 tactics together. The officer loses his ability to turn a simple stop into an investigation. He can't claim he had a reason if you asked him to state it. He can't search without your consent. He can't extend the stop without giving you a legal right to challenge it. You stay in control the entire time. Now, I want to give you the legal framework that backs all of this up. 3 Supreme Court cases make these tactics bulletproof. First, Terry v. Ohio. That case says an officer needs reasonable suspicion to stop you. When you ask for the reason, you force him to put that suspicion on the record. No suspicion, no stop. Second, Florida v. Bostick. This case says that consent to search must be freely and voluntarily given. You have the right to say no. If you do not consent, the officer must have a warrant or an exception. Saying "I do not consent to any searches" is your legal shield. Third, Rodriguez v. United States. This case says that a traffic stop cannot be prolonged beyond the time needed to handle the reason. If you ask if you are free to leave and you are not, any delay must be supported by independent, reasonable suspicion. So asking, "Am I being detained or am I free to leave?" is not just smart. It's rooted in a Supreme Court decision. Let's walk through a real scenario so you see how to use all these tactics step by step. You're driving home from a friend's house. You see the lights in your rearview mirror. You pull over safely. You turn off the engine. You roll down your window and place your hands on the steering wheel. The officer approaches. He says, "License and registration." Most drivers immediately reach for their wallet. Instead, you look at the officer and say, "Officer, what is the reason for this stop?" He tells you your brake light is out. You say, "Thank you, officer. Here's my license." You hand it over. He takes it and runs your information. He comes back and says, "I'm going to give you a warning. But you don't mind if I take a quick look in your trunk, do you?" You reply calmly, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." He might look annoyed. He might try to pressure you. You stay calm and say nothing else. He hands you the warning and your license. Now you ask, "Officer, am I being detained or am I free to leave?" He has no reason to hold you. He says, "You're free to go." You say, "Thank you, officer." You drive away. You just avoided a potential search, a prolonged detention, and the risk of being arrested for something you didn't even know about. All because you used 3 simple questions. Now compare that to the wrong way. The officer says, "License and registration." You hand it over without a word. He asks, "You mind if I search your car?" You say, "I guess not." He finds a pocket knife that's technically illegal. You're arrested for carrying a concealed weapon. Or he plants something you can't prove was his. Your life is ruined. The difference is 3 sentences. Next video, I'm revealing exactly what to say when cops claim they smell marijuana. That tactic gets people arrested every single day because they don't know the one word that shuts it down. Subscribe right now so you don't miss it. That video drops in 3 days, and it's the most requested topic. From subscribers who use today's tactics and want the next level of protection. Here's a quick recap of what you just learned. Before you ever hand over your license, ask the officer to state the reason for the stop. Never consent to any searches by saying you do not consent, and as soon as the officer finishes his business. Ask if you are being detained or if you are free to leave. These 3 sentences protect your Fourth Amendment rights and keep you in control of the encounter. Hit subscribe so you catch that marijuana odor video. Smash that like button if this just saved you from a future arrest. And drop a comment.